All right, welcome everybody to our presentation today. I want you to think about the last time you had a hard conversation with somebody. What were some of the feelings that you were having, or how were you feeling when you were going to have that conversation, or as you were having that conversation?
Anxiety.
Anxiety. What else?
Tension.
Tension. Okay. All of those things can happen with our last conversations. Nervousness, anxiety. Maybe you wanted to avoid it. Somebody mentioned tension, but I want you to think about this. What can you do to feel confident with conversations? There are actually some things that you can do to help you get better with this. Many of us feel like, oh gosh, or how do you feel? Like when I tell you that, feel confident with conversations, what are your first thoughts?
Oh, well, that's interesting. That would be nice.
Yeah, wouldn't it be much better to go into a conversation that is tough without that anxiety and tension, and really just feel confident about what you're about to talk about? We're going to talk a little bit about ways that we're going to be able to do that. A lot of times it's all about how we ask the questions. I want you to think of these questions. I call these accusatory questions. When you state a question one way or another, it really brings a lot of the tension and anxiety into the conversation. So if we look at these, why did you not put that away? Why were you late? Why did you do that? What do all of those questions, how do they make you feel?
Like you did something wrong.
Yeah, like you did something wrong. So what can you do to, you know, put down that barrier and take away that feeling of being accusatory as soon as somebody says a why question? Well, one of the things that we can do is we can rephrase those questions. When we're able to rephrase those questions, we then turn it to an accusatory question to a concerning question. So instead of saying, what happened that you didn't put that away, or why didn't you put that away, if you change it to what happened that you weren't not able to put that away, or what made you late today, instead of why are you late, or what was the reason that you made that decision. I know that we're talking about this in a business setting, but this is applicable to all aspects of your life. So how do you feel when I read those questions to you, or when I ask those questions rephrased with taking why off of the beginning and rephrasing them in this manner? How do you feel about that?
It's just easier to answer.
It is. It's much easier to answer. And how do you, is there any anxious feelings about it? Or what are your thoughts behind those questions? What are you thinking that I want to know?
I think that you wanted to know, was there a problem? Did something come up? Instead of saying, what in the world were you thinking? You're asking, what caused this problem?
Exactly. It's really, I'm concerned. Let's try and figure out this together and see how we can solve this problem. So think about a question that you may have asked somebody even today that you could rephrase better than how you stated it. Think about a question you made to someone even today or in the last week. What's maybe a question that you've asked somebody that you think you could rephrase it to make it a better question?
Why are you thinking you don't want to call the washer repairman? I don't know.
Okay. I'm assuming, Tim, that she's talking to you. How do you feel if she said that to you? Why aren't you calling the washer repairman?
Because she's putting a time frame on me, an immediate time frame. I should be
Okay.
doing it now.
So what would be a better way that you could phrase that question?
Is there a reason that you're not calling the repairman? What happened that you have not been able to do that?
Okay, so I really like especially that last part of the question. What has happened that you have not been able to do that? And the reason why I like that is the first part of your question, I think you started it with is, but it was a yes or no answer. So you're really not going to get a lot of communication from that. But when you added that last part and started it with what, that's where you start to get progress. The other thing that you have to remember with having these conversations is the attitude behind the questions. It's not just the words that you use, but it's also the tone and the body language. So let's go back to that question that you asked earlier about why haven't you called the washer repairman? And think about we know about your words, but how is the tone and maybe your body language when you ask that question?
Oh, they were all ornery because that's the way I felt.
Okay. When you rephrased that question and said what happened that you weren't able to call, how did it make you feel when you asked that question and think about your tone and body language and maybe what had been different?
I wasn't as angry, but wasn't in the moment. I changed the words around.
So what if you would have said, why haven't you called them yet? What, I said why, but what if you would have even changed it to a what? What has been the problem where you haven't called them yet? Would that have helped the situation any better than saying, why haven't you called them yet?
No, they're
Because
both irritated.
it is. It's the tone and body language. So it's not just the words that you use. You have to make sure your tone and body language are appropriate with what you're saying, because that is very, very important to make sure that aspect of it. So when you can have open-ended questions, it creates conversation. Earlier, when you restated that question, you started it with an is. And when you say something, is this the right thing? Is this the right time? It's a yes or no question, and it's not an open-ended question. And when you can start conversations with who, what, when, where, and how, you get open-ended questions. And so the dialogue will go on more, and you'll actually have better conversations. And this is really good, not only to apply it in the workforce, and in the clinic situation here with patients and each other, but it's also a great way to get kids to talk, especially boys who tend to not, open up, but just having that open-ended conversation. So think about it. Who are you going to the store with? Why are you going to the store? If you said, why are you going to the store? First off, it's accusatory. Yes, it's open-ended, but they're going to feel attacked. Who are you going to the store with today? Why didn't you make your bed this morning? Whoa, you're attacking me. What happened that you weren't able to make your bed? How can we make the morning routine better so that those things can get done in the morning? See how it's an open-ended question. How are you guys feeling about those open-ended questions?
I think they sound great. I probably should have said, when will you be able to make calling the washer or repairman a priority?
Well, you got to make sure that there's no attitude behind that. Remember, tone and body language and the word, what's behind the words is also important. So think about how you want your next conversation to go. How do you want it to go?
Well, I definitely don't want to discuss the washer repairman.
You want it to go better. So
Yes, definitely.
you now have some tools in your toolbox that you know that you can make it go better, so that you can take these things and go forward having better conversations with these few tools. Thank you guys so much for participating.
Thank you.
Okay.